Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Cirencester. And in today's video I'll be giving you an update on the Jaguar F-Type. If you haven't noticed, I haven't actually made a video on the Jaguar F-Type since November of last year. And in the meantime I've had not one, not two, but three courtesy cars from Enterprise Exotics Car Collection. And they're all Mercedes-Benzes. So what has happened to the F-Type then? Has it been sold? Has it been traded in for something? What's happened to it? Well, October last year, it's been involved in a head-on collision, and here is a dashcam footage of said incident. I was heading back home from Bath, and it happened between the A46 and the A420 in Gorse Lane in South Gloucestershire. Apparently the driver of the car was a tourist from France, and he forgot that he wasn't in France, despite the fact he was in a UK right-hand drive car. And due to the road having no verges, I couldn't really pull to the side. And it was a national speed limit road, so even though it was a 60, realistically I was doing between 45 and 50. And by the time I reacted, the impact happened around 15 to 20 miles per hour. And the oncoming car did try to correct themselves, but it was too late back then. And as a result, the entire front three-quarter of the car hit the wheel of the oncoming car, and the car was undrivable. As you can see by these photos, the bonnet has been misaligned, the bumper has been scuffed, the front three-quarter panel has been misaligned, the driver's door couldn't open, so I had to clumber out the passenger door, and whilst the door itself was fine, the side skirt was damaged, the entire lower arm has been disconnected, and the driver's wheel has been bent 90 degrees, and various fluids were leaking out of the car. The driver and I exchanged details. We then called the police to close the lane, and eventually they brought in their recovery flatbed to take the car from South Gloucestershire to Whitchurch in Bristol. And in the meantime I have been talking to my insurance, and obviously I've been giving a third-party claim. As I've mentioned, the oncoming driver was a tourist from France, and the vehicle in question was a hire car from Sixt. So obviously we talked to their insurer, and in the meantime I got myself a courtesy car, so all of that happened on Friday night. I was out of a car on the weekend, though Saturday morning I have been talking to both my insurer and the group that is due to provide my courtesy car. They couldn't get it over the weekend, so I was out of vehicle on a Saturday and out of vehicle on a Sunday, so I had to borrow someone else's car to get to work over the weekend. Monday was a lot more talking on the phone with insurance and their division on who's going to repair the car, as well as the courtesy car provider, who were Exotics Car Collection by Enterprise. Thank you to them for the 3 courtesy cars that they've given me. But really, I did not get into a car until Tuesday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days out of a car. But luckily on Monday I had no work. I did not actually receive the car until Tuesday afternoon, a black AMG E53, which you can watch by clicking on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. So obviously the insurer had their engineering team. The engineering team gave me this timetable on when the car would be done. So I got the first update tail end of October saying that they have received the car from the recovery team. The car then went into this place right here in Cirencester called Motorfix Prestige. A huge thank you to Motorfix of Cirencester for this service. And whilst during the making of this video things have been going very smoothly with insurance, engineering team and the garage that has the car, the same cannot be said about the first few months. So the whole of November, the whole of December, and roughly the first half of January. So throughout November I was hoping to get a full update from the engineering team, but I got no updates at all with the timetable that they gave me, and and on the schedule they did not update me at all since the tail end of October. So worst case scenario, due to it potentially being a total loss, I actually had to go around the country to find a potential replacement for the F-Type. I've been to a Mercedes garage in Weston to potentially look at a coupe E53, since the saloon E53 was really nice. I've also been down to Andover in Hampshire to look at other F-Types in the garage. And whilst I was down in Andover, I even popped over to Salisbury. They had a smaller Mercedes garage, but we also looked at what E53s they also had. I've also queried about the AMG GT, which unfortunately was out of budget. I've even popped over to a Lexus dealer in Swindon. Unfortunately, the car that they had on display, the LC500 hybrid, was ever so slightly out of budget. And every evening for the next week or two, I had to scroll down Auto Trader to see what other options there were, whether it was a Mercedes, a Jaguar, or a Lexus. And I've also kept tabs on how much another checkered flag would be. And I spent around 38k on mine back in 2022, but prices haven't really budged for the checkered flag F-Type. There are some below 38, like around 32, 33 at the time, but they had no heated front screen, they didn't have any heated steering wheel, and some of them didn't even have the glass roof. And on the other end of the spectrum, there were checkered flags for sale around £40,000, which did have the heated front screen, the heated steering wheel, the glass roof, and the red stitching, because some of them had white stitching instead. So realistically, if I wanted another one of my exact checkered flag, I would still be looking at high 30s to low 40s. And yes, that's with the same engine. If I wanted a P380 all-wheel drive, they were around 42, 43 for the cheapest one available. Yes, there are some F-Types for sale for a lot less, around mid-20s, but those were non-special editions made before late 2019, and they all had the older infotainment system, and some of them didn't even have cruise control. So realistically, if I was looking for another F-Type, it would have to be another one-year special edition, like the checkered flag, or potentially a 400 Sport. Then around late November, early December, the first Mercedes had to go. The E53 apparently had a recall. So in the meantime, I was given a diesel convertible E300 4MATIC, which I still quite liked. It was no E53, but I think the diesel engine just mismatched the appearance and the characteristic of the car. So I kept that probably the longest during the making of this video. And I also got a call from Copart, who was supposed to be taking the car from Motorfix here in Cirencester to the nearest Copart branch in Gloucester, because it was a potential total loss. But then I got no updates at all whatsoever. I then gave the Copart branch in Gloucester a call, saying that they did not receive the car at all. So I then went back to Motorfix here, and apparently they were advised to keep the car here, and even though it was a potential total loss, they then went on to get a second opinion from another engineering company who say it is fixable. But then after that, I got no updates at all for the next few weeks perhaps, and the company that gave me the Mercedes were getting so impatient on their end as well that they had no other choice but to take the car. That then made me give insurance a call immediately saying I'll be out of the car, and apparently the garage did not get their authorization until the moment the driver came to my address to pick the car up. It was only then I got the call to say the repairs have been authorized and I can then keep the car for longer. So not only was it a potential inconvenience for me, almost losing the car and being out of a vehicle until the car was fixed, but it was also a huge inconvenience for the driver to then come all the way to Tetbury, only to go back to the branch near Heathrow. Eventually a service was due on the silver car, so I gave Exotics a call saying that a service was due on the car, and luckily a driver did come to take the car. And then they gave me the petrol burgundy car, or as Mercedes likes to call it, Rubellite Red Metallic. And during the making of this video, I still have that car. But thankfully, around mid-January onwards, I've then got a call from Motorfix saying, in the meantime, of course I've been concerned about how long it's been taking, bearing in mind an entire quarter of a year has passed until the fixes have been authorized. So naturally I had to give not one, but 2 complaints. The first one was because I've seen the car in person. I went to go retrieve some belongings that were still left in the car, but one of them has been taken away. Luckily I did find some money to help replace the lost property. And eventually I did get a call regarding my 2 complaints, both the loss of property and the lack of communication during those 3 months of blank communication, really. They then did take both my complaints into consideration, and they did say this was not the service I should have received from insurance. But luckily they did pay me some compensation, so I cannot complain on that behalf. And here in Motorfix, I'm still receiving proper up-to-dates with the car. Though, as things stand, the car is still being repaired, and a part 2 of this will follow. But, Rob, if you're listening to this, a huge thank you for keeping me up to date with what's going on with the car, and whether or not the parts have arrived, and even the extra hurdles that had to be overcome. So to summarise, the F-Type has been involved in a non-fault head-on collision 4 months ago now, and the car did not get the authorization to get it fixed until end of December, beginning of January, and the repairs are still ongoing, and I was told by my insurance company that it should not have taken that long. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me give you an update on the Jaguar F-Type. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!